we have 6 shred and grind lines that process industrial grade plastics. So we take warehousing plastics or manufacturing plastics. Like we do milk jugs, but not milk jugs that come from the curbside bins. We do milk jugs that come from a bottling plant where they actually make the bottles, and we recycle the large purgings or the milk jug scrap or whatever it is coming out of the manufacturing facilities. We've had a lot of success with the industrial grade stuff. And, years ago, industrial grade stuff was sort of the creme de la creme of plastics material. It's the cleanest stuff you can get. But in the last few years, there's been a real big push, especially by large corporations, to start manufacturing goods made from consumer grade plastics. And so we're kind of following that trend, and we see a lot of opportunity in our area and region of the country to process the consumer plastics. And so it's kind of a win-win because the demand is higher for it, and we have a lot of opportunities to get them recycled in our area. So we are, like I said, in the process of hooking up a large industrial wash line. It's got friction washers and wet grinders and sink float tanks where we can sink out whatever we're not recovering. We're going to recover ethylenes and propylenes on that line. So everything, will have a density less than 1. So it basically floats on water. And so there's a lot of ways that we can separate plastics by density in recovering those types that float, because most of the other ones sink. But there's a lot involved in the line, but it's a very large, it's like a 140-foot processing line that's got 8 or 9 different areas of washing and grinding and processing and cleaning. And we're really looking forward to getting that started up. And like I said, we're running, 6 lines on the post-industrial side, which can also be used to shred or grind some stuff that will go through that wash line. And then everything that comes off the wash line and some of the other industrial products, we're going to start compounding. So we have a big automated blender that we bought through one of the RREO grants with the state. And it's got 6 bins that we can automatically blend to spec whatever our customers are looking for. And we're going to do the same thing. It'll be propylenes and ethylenes on that line, mostly propylene. And it'll allow us to basically take the feedstocks that we're generating now of the propylene materials and blend them at a certain rate to put them into a pellet that's to spec for local manufacturers. So it will allow us to sell more locally and source more regionally. Like we'll be able to buy from Tim, right? Tim also has grinders and he's also pelletizing, but he's pelletizing some other stuff. And if we're doing propylene, we'll be able to, buy regrind from Tim, and he'll be able to buy regrind from us to go through his pelletizers on like the LD side. And basically, like it'll allow us to, like I said, have more local customers who are not as far. We just sold some truckloads this week. We sold one to Massachusetts. We sold one to Maine. So the material is traveling really far right now in some circumstances, and we want to try to bring it as local as we can, A, to deal more closely with the regional and local players, B, to get a higher sale price, and C, to kind of cut the emissions that come from sending things so far across the country. We're pretty much doing every type of plastic except PET. We don't do a lot of PET. We do every so often some industrial grade if it's real good, clear stuff. But for the most part, anything else we're doing high density polyethylene, polypropylene, PVC, LDPE, polystyrene, ABS, polycarbonate, nylons, glass filled nylons, acrylics, really anything that you could think of, PCABS. So we're really starting to expand into pretty much every polymer type except for the PET. And I think that's it. We're adding a second shift here soon. So we'll be 24 or we'll be 16 5 on the shifts. And that should really help us increase our throughput and capacity at the warehouse. And we're looking at 2022 as probably being another really big year for us. Year after year, we've seen tremendous growth, and it's not looking like it's going to slow down.
You had talked about consumer grade and how getting like that's shifting with the manufacturers. Is that a different process for you to have to do the consumer grade, or why hadn't that happened in the past? I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
yeah, it's a much different process. Everything that gets processed on that line is going to get washed. We use friction washing, and we use wet grinders instead of dry grinders, and sink float tanks and dryers and all kinds of other stuff to basically clean and de-dust and take metal out and, clean up the plastic well enough to go through a pelletizer or go directly to an end user. And when you're dealing with industrial grade plastics, you might be dealing with some stickers or labels and, a little bit of dirt here and there, but they're not really dirty. They don't have like yogurt caked on to them, And so we're going to start dealing with a lot more really organic based contaminants, where it's like yogurt that needs to be washed off, or cottage cheese or milk or whatever it's going to be, So the process is, yeah, it's much different. And most of it will require pelletizing after it goes through the wash process. So we'll compound it after we wash it. And we don't need to do that necessarily with some of the industrial grade stuff that we're doing.